Hope you just caught our last episode, our reactions to week 1 of the NFL. If you didn't, go ahead and check it out. Right now, we're going to be talking about the week 2 predictions for the NFL, as well as just getting a general update on the news from around other sports leagues. Check it out. Join us. Have a good time. And ladies and gentlemen, we're back with, once again, another episode of the Allied Rivals podcast. We're doing this one right after our last episode, which was about the week 1 look back at the NFL. Now we're talking about week 2 and our upcoming predictions. Cademan, it's been 5 minutes since our last episode. How are you doing?
You know, not much has changed.
Yeah.
It's been pretty real. I went upstairs for about a minute to grab my charger.
Okay.
And I've been shooting a little bit of hoops in the basement, so getting the energy out.
All right. Yeah, I see you changed locations on us, was it?
I changed locations on this one.
Nice.
Charger.
Cool. Very cool.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm slightly hungry because I haven't had dinner yet, so that is a priority after we're done here. But other than that, my voice is starting to go, which means I'm having a good time and a good conversation. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
Loving it.
All right. Today we're going to cover 5. We're going to highlight 5 NFL games. Of course, you'll be able to see those when we talk about them. And before we do that, we're just going to really quick go around the news around the sports world. First of all, and really exciting. What'd you say?
We need I don't know, a robot or something to go the news around the sports world.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Know?
Yeah, we should hold open auditions for people who do car commercials and stuff like that, just to get that kind of voice for us.
Please comment Please comment if you have an amazing robot voice.
Yes, let us know.
Yeah.
Well, in other news, right around the corner, I'm so excited. MLB Playoffs, man. We have 10 games left. We are 10 games away before playoff time. I'm so excited. 3 teams have already clinched. The LA Dodgers, to no one's surprise, already have their spot clinched. It looks like they're just going to run away with the division. No shock there. The biggest shock was the White Sox being the first team to clinch a playoff spot in the AL. I'm super excited, man. The White Sox are fun again. Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy. So happy about that. And then also right behind them, we've got the Tampa Bay Rays. They also clinched their playoff spot. I think today, I want to say today, they're the only 3 teams who have clinched their playoff spot. Cayman, what are you thinking? What do you think what are your thoughts on the MLB real quick?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, 3 teams that have clinched it have just been playing so well. The White Sox not needing even half a season to gel. They're just coming off really hot. They're still really hot. The one thing I would say is that they need to lose less games away, because in the playoffs, that's going to start hurting them. And it hasn't been bad right now because they've been playing some easier series and stuff. But once they get into the playoffs, they have to really clinch those, especially the away games. Or it could be a really successful playoff.
You mean LA, right? LA Dodgers?
No, the White Sox.
White Sox. Okay, I got you. Sorry. Yeah. I mixed up. They're actually 16-7 away. They're better away than they are at home right now.
Wait, hold up. Wait, really?
Yeah, they're 16-7. Dude, I told you I'm excited. They're 16-7.
They're 17-10 at home right now.
Yeah.
So I guess that's true. I guess
they got to clean up at home a little bit. Yeah, I'm super excited, of course. White Sox are back. Rays are in, so okay. And the Dodgers are in as well. Hoping that the Cubs will be able to clinch soon. I know them and Atlanta are the next teams up, really looking to finish. Also, Oakland. But yeah, I'm excited. San Diego's looking to wrap up as well. I'm excited, man. We went from baseball maybe not being able to happen to coronavirus scares, and then now finally baseball's back and we're almost in the playoffs. I'm excited.
I'm not. Brewers are not going to go into the playoffs.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
They've got a 40, according to 538, they have a 45% chance. So they're not out of it yet, but the Reds and St. Louis, especially the Reds going 7-3 in their last 10. They're gonna make it. They're not gonna make it easy.
I don't like the looks of it.
Yeah, it's gonna be close.
Like you wonder if you wonder if in a full long season, if the Brewers would have been able to recover. You know, because Yelich was stinking and he still isn't doing great. But
you
wonder if they would have been able to come back. But whatever.
Well, what could have been? That's the story of this year, honestly, and just sports in general. Meanwhile, we go to the NHL Finals. It's coming down to the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm all in on the Lightning on this. Stars are my rivals. I'm going Tampa Bay. I was really kind of hoping Vegas would beat out Dallas, but it is what it is. So let's go Tampa. First game is tomorrow night on NBC. You better know that I will be watching. I'm very excited for it.
Cool. Maybe I will too.
All right. Yeah, you should, man. You should. Meanwhile, in other news, we get to the NBA, and we are in conference finals now, which is just crazy to think of. The LA Lakers and the Denver Nuggets 0-0, and the comeback kids, the Miami Heat, are up 2-0. Despite being down 13 points at the end of the third quarter, they came back to beat Boston to go up 2-0. Cademan, how are the Heat doing it? No one saw this coming.
Nope. I honestly don't know. I mean, Jimmy Butler has been out of his mind. Bam has been great. And there have been the rest of the team as in general has been growing over the playoffs.
Yeah.
When they've been down by a lot, their defense really takes control of the game all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And Bam is shooting threes.
Yeah.
And that's what they did to the Bucks. And that's what I think they're going to do. And I think they're going to be playing a certain team called the Lakers in the future.
Yeah. Man, nobody saw the Heat, least of all me, being able to make it to the finals. I thought they'd kind of burn out against Milwaukee. It's crazy to think the Heat have lost one game this entire playoffs. They've gone 4-0, 4-1, and they're up 2-0 right now. It's crazy to think about that. Jimmy Butler's leading the team, and this is really probably the most team-oriented basketball in the entire league. Like the Celtics, they have stars, of course, that work well together, but typically one of them comes out and leads the team. Meanwhile, Butler, Abadeo, Crowder, Dragic, all of them, any one of them could score 20 points on any given day. I don't know. It's cold, hard team basketball, and I respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, on the maybe late. You're still a little salty right now, I would assume. Right now. Yeah. Meanwhile, on the other side, though, Nuggets and the Joker took out the Clippers. What were your reactions to that?
I did not expect it. After being down 3-2, their defense, the Nuggets' defense.
Yeah.
I don't know what I can say. I mean, it was crazy. Like Jamal Murray at the end. 40 points, so that really helps. The rest of the starters were scoring overall well. Their bench, however, I was surprised that they weren't scoring as well. They were rebounding well. They weren't scoring as well as they normally do. But another thing that came out that stuck out was Jokic getting 22 rebounds. He just dominated off the board the entire so much. What, you there? We good?
Yeah, the Joker's definitely just out of his mind. Probably the best big man in the game next to him and Anthony Davis, both of them.
Very true.
It's just, man, I can't believe they did it. I'm going to be 100% honest. I can't believe they did it. I thought Kawhi just disappeared, which made no sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Kawhi.
They ridiculous defense on Kawhi, and then it was all like Paul George kind of shots again.
Mm-hmm.
He went 2 for 11 on 3-pointers in I don't know what game this was, but in one of the games he went 2 for 11 on 3-pointers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not good. I think the craziest thing is I think it was I'm trying to remember who brought it up. I want to say it was Rachel Nichols on The Jump who said it, but she brought up a good point. It was someone, they said that the Clippers were built to beat the Lakers. That's it. Which I think is honestly a really good point. They were built to outshoot them and just beat out their crosstown rivals. But in that fact, they couldn't beat a team like Denver, who plays rock solid defense and is crazy around the boards. And the craziest part was they held the Clippers to 89 points in Game 7. The most underwhelming way to go out. Crazy. But Lakers are probably going to smack them. So if we see a Nuggets Heat final, though, that'd just be crazy.
Which I would not mind seeing. I would not mind seeing another 1-seed team.
Yeah. Because normally it's just 1v1 or 1v2 or whatever. Yeah. Especially in recent years, it had just been Cavs versus Warriors. Slot them in, that's fine. Not Bucks. Okay, Raptors, they're the 2 seeds. Slot them in, it's fine. It would be really cool to see some underdogs make it in.
Yeah.
Yep. And now it's time to get into our main content of today's episode, which is our week 2 predictions for the NFL. Keep in mind to check into Allied Rivals Shorts with quick 5-minute opinionated videos hosted by Cademan on random questions about various sports. Leave a comment and let us know what you want us to talk about in those videos. We've already done one. Be sure to go check it out. But now let's actually talk about week 2 of the NFL. We're going to go in order of what time the games come on, actually. So we'll start out with Atlanta versus Dallas. Both teams coming off of not great losses. Falcons defense collapsed when it came down to facing Seattle, and Dallas just couldn't get past the Rams defense. So, Cademan, how about you start us off? Talk about Dallas. What did they need to do to be able to take down Atlanta?
I think, honestly, it has to be their defense. No matter how well Ezekiel Elliott plays, no matter how well Dak Prescott throws, no matter how well Amari Cooper gets open and catches, it's not going to matter when Matt Ryan throws 450 yards.
Yeah.
So I think it's honestly all on their defense. Not all, of course, because you could have a defense that plays great and Dak Prescott does nothing. But I think that this has to be an amazing game for both sides on both sides of the ball.
And it doesn't help if you're Dallas, though, after losing Gerald McCoy and then out of the blue, Leighton Vander Esch to a broken collarbone. So, like, they really kind of got messed up right at the beginning. So what do you think Dak and Zeke have to do? The Falcons defense obviously got torched by Russell Wilson and company. So what does Dallas's offense need to do to be able to take advantage and control the game?
I mean, honestly, we all know you open up the run game and then the run game's going good and then it opens up the receiving game, passing game. So Ezekiel Elliott, he just kind of stayed consistent throughout the whole game. He didn't have like an amazing start. He got almost 100 yards, so that's good. Yeah. But he was just kind of consistent the whole game, and so I feel like if he would have been amazing in just really amazing in the first quarter, the opposing defense would have had to step it up, cover the run game more. And then Amari Cooper would have been open. CeeDee Lamb, though, that was amazing.
Yeah, he had a solid game.
He's going to be so good. I think he's going to be so good anyway. Yeah. But you never know. It's going to be hard. I think it's all on their defense. What about you? What do you think?
For me, well, I'm covering Atlanta, obviously. Yeah. Look, Falcons, you've got to lock down early, I think, on Ezekiel Elliott. Your front seven has absolutely got to stop up and stop him from establishing the run, because when Zeke starts eating, he doesn't stop. You need to be able to stop him early and force Dak to beat you through the air, which he can do because he's got Amari Cooper, he's got Michael Gallup, and he's got CeeDee Lamb, arguably the best wide receiver trio in the league. So you're going to have a tough time on defense. And with Atlanta, it was really weird to see them last game. I mean, Gurley rushing, 14 times, I think it was. I mean, he ran the ball 14 times. I really expected him to do make a little bit more of a noticeable impact maybe. I guess it really just got overshadowed by Atlanta just going completely pass happy. If I'm Atlanta, got to get the running game going a little bit more. And really, I think that Dallas's cornerbacks are going to have the hardest time because, hey, guess what? You're facing the other arguably best wide receiver trio in the league, Julio, Ridley, and Gage. It's going to be a shootout. I think we all know that, and it's going to be fun to watch. But Atlanta got to lock down on Zeke early and then get the run game going so you can open up Julio, Ridley, and Gage.
Yeah, and I think we basically both said the same thing. It's going to be dependent on the defenses.
Yep, for sure.
Both of the offenses can go out of their minds if they're playing even just an average defense.
Yep, very true.
It's going to be a high-scoring game. That's my prediction.
Very true.
I think that the Cowboys win it.
Yeah, I think the Falcons are definitely going to have a harder time playing in Dallas for sure. That's the roughest part because Dallas is actually allowing fans in their stadium. I think I'll probably also go Dallas to win here, but Atlanta is not going to give them an easy time. Well, next up, our next game we're going to talk about, and I know you've got some personal feelings on this team. Will Drew Lock and company be able to handle the steel curtain that is Pittsburgh? They just shut down Saquon Barkley in game 1, completely rendered him irrelevant in the rushing game. Meanwhile, Denver had a very weird game.
Yeah.
And that is probably the best way I can put it, in a close loss to the Tennessee Titans that included missed field goals, short drives, and injuries. So, Cademan, I know you've got thoughts about the Broncos. Go ahead.
So, I mean, honestly, this just kind of seems – it just seems like even though they're not – like the Broncos arguably have one of the best wide receiving trios in the league. But
I think so.
I think so.
Who's their big number 3, you think? Because they've obviously got Sutton, Judy. I mean, he had a decent week 1, but I mean, KJ Hamler was injured. He wasn't able to play against Tennessee. Who else stepped up for them? Like, it was really Noah Fant, the tight end.
Jerry Judy and KJ Hamler, maybe.
He hasn't played a game in the NFL, though. You really want to call it arguably the best?
Really? No, like one of the best. Like maybe top 7.
Wow,
I think,
all right.
It has potential. But I mean, I think that Drew Lock needs well, I mean, this isn't on him necessarily, but maybe it's the coaching. Coaching needs to tell Drew Lock to pass it more. And I think he's taking too much time in the pocket before he decides to throw. So, I mean, the rushing game was decent for the Broncos.
Yeah.
78 yards by Melvin Gordon. Phillip Lindsay only had 24. I mean, he got injured.
Well, he got injured, yeah.
But the receiving game, the passing game, even though it wasn't high yards, it was still productive. Noah Fant with over 80 yards, Jerry Judy over 50. It was still a productive offense. It's just I don't know if it's good enough to overcome the Steel defense.
Yeah. For me in Pittsburgh, looking at them, man, it's hard to contain Saquon Barkley, who's a top 3 running back in the league with incredible athleticism, and they held him to probably one of the worst pure rushing stat lines you're ever going to see in the NFL this season. 15 carries for 6 yards. He was averaging a 0.4 yards a carry. The Steel Curtain defense is real. Remember, and I say this all the time, this is a team that went 8-8 last year with only a defense. They had no offense last year. They went 8-8 with just a defense. Big Ben is back. He's starting to get into form. His first game back, it was good. He threw for 3 touchdowns. It wasn't the best we've ever seen him in, but he looked like Big Ben. Wide receiving wise, Juju's back. I could not be happier about that. He got 6 catches and 2 touchdowns. And I thought Roethlisberger spread out the ball decently well. Now, Connor getting injured, everybody saw it coming, but it's still rough. And then Benny Snell decided, you know what, I'm going to rush for 113 yards. Why not?
And he was like, yeah, let me do this.
Sure. I think Pittsburgh, I feel like, is probably going to manhandle this game. I watched a lot of Drew Lock in college because he played Missouri, so Georgia's rival, all that. And he was a gunslinger. At his best, you've got to open him out. But Pittsburgh's defense is so smothering. Melvin Gordon is going to have a rough go of it, just like Saquon did. I think Pittsburgh's going to take this one, and I think they'll take it pretty handily. Denver's going to put up a fight, but I don't think they stand that much of a chance, if I'm being honest, especially in Pittsburgh.
I would agree. I think it's all Steelers this one.
Yeah. Well, moving on, believe it or not, America's game of the week, I'm pretty sure this week, is the football team versus the Cardinals. Will the football team continue their improbable, nobody saw it coming, 2-game win streak? They were able to take down Philadelphia thanks to no Miles Sanders, a injury-riddled offensive line, and a terrible defense in Philadelphia. But now you're going up against Arizona with, in my opinion, best wide receiver in the league, DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, and a team that knocked off the San Francisco 49ers 24-20. Cademan, Arizona, what do they need to do to stop the football team? Wow, that sounds terrible. What do you think?
Arizona just starting off like that, it's insane. Starting off against 49ers like that. Mm-hmm. You couldn't ask for a better start from the Cardinals.
True.
Kyler Murray, while he didn't have an amazing passing game, he had 91 rushing yards. Mm-hmm. That led the team, and that helped a ton. Because on those third and maybe fourth downs a couple times, he was the guy who would just scramble over, or who would just like dive over the first down line.
Yep.
So I mean, honestly, DeAndre Hopkins, you said it, he's great. He got over 150 yards. Mm-hmm. Their defense is gonna be good. Like, they have a lot of tackles constantly. Mm-hmm. What I think they need to improve on is not letting them get so far before they tackle. Because sure, you had like Blake Martinez last year, he would get a ton of tackles, but they wouldn't always be so close to the line of scrimmage, right? And so that's like, who cares how many tackles you have if you don't, if it's not getting you anywhere, you know? So I mean, I'm honestly looking at the Cardinals coming off of a win of the against 49ers, and I think they're going to win this, especially since they were second in total rushing yards per game and sixth in total yards per game overall. I think they're going to win this. Yeah,
look, football team.
It's a football team.
I'm sorry you have to be called that. Look, I'm sorry. I think it was a fluke. I think it's a major fluke, them knocking off Philadelphia. Oh, my goodness. Look, Haskins had a decent game. He threw for a touchdown. Peyton Barber got 2 touchdowns, but literally only because he ran the ball 17 times.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say. The game was a kind of a mess. I think it was more now granted, Washington's defensive line is really, really good. Ron Rivera, great defensive coach. I will give them that every single day of the week. Chase Young and them up there, great job, you guys.
No question.
Now you have to go play Arizona, one of the most electric offenses in the league. And I think Kenyon Drake might have a rough go of it against Washington. But, guys, you have to cover DeAndre Hopkins. That's not going to work.
Nope.
It's not going to work. I think Washington, it was a nice run. Your one game you won. I don't think they're going to be able to beat just the high power octane offense of Arizona. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know. I would agree that I think it's going to be really hard for Washington's defense to do much.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say is that Dan Arnold and Chase Edmonds both fumbled the ball. And so that I know that's where they've been training the wide receiving corps. And so I'm wondering if the Washington football team is going to kind of look on that and go, I think we need to really try to strip the ball before we really tackle them. Or if we have two guys on him, do we tackle him or do we let one try to strip the ball before we tackle him? I don't know. If that's their strategy, I think it could be a different game.
Interesting. Really?
But I mean, you still have DeAndre Hopkins, who is one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
And so you still have to play lockdown defense.
Yeah. In my opinion, you're not going to cause You're not going to be able to cause 2 interceptions of Kyler Murray and sack him 8 times. Kenyon, I think, will have a rough game just like he did last time. I mean, he did punch in a touchdown late, but still. Yeah, I don't see the football team winning this. Well, we got 2 other games on the docket to talk about before we wrap up. First of all, oh my goodness, this one's going to be crazy. The Houston Texans kind of got embarrassed by the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's probably the nicest way I could put it. Now you have to go up against the Baltimore Ravens team that utterly embarrassed the Cleveland Browns. So, Cademan, you're Houston, you're Bill O'Brien, you're Deshaun Watson. What do you need to do? Not even what do you need to do? How do you have a chance to beat Baltimore?
I don't know if you do. I mean, okay. No, don't get me wrong. Deshaun Watson, he's great. He had like an average game with 250 yards. Will Fuller, though, if he can keep doing this and if he's going to have an effect on his 2 and 3 wide receivers, like hitting over 100 yards, that's good. That's going to have a good effect on the team. David Johnson, of course,
he showed up.
Just a great running game. Deshaun Watson. Here's the thing: like Deshaun Watson only runs when he needs to,
which is pretty often in Houston's offensive line.
Pretty often because of the offensive line, right? And because of that, he got 27 rushing yards. That is, and I feel like if their offensive line was better, the whole game, the whole team would be better. Just because I think when Deshaun is running, he's panicking, or maybe not necessarily panicking, but they're not. It's not what they want to see. Because I mean, if you want Deshaun to run, great, because Deshaun can run. But if Deshaun's running because he's trying to scramble away from 4 guys that are about to sack him because his offensive line can't do anything, that's different.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at the Texans right now, I think their offensive line is the big thing. I think their offensive line is going to be huge. But also I think their defensive line and linebackers are also a big key, because I think if they get those like key sacks in the game or just key turnover on downs or just making them punt it a lot, that's going to have a huge effect. I think it's on the linemen this game for the Texans.
Interesting.
And one more thing, I think it is hard for any team to start up against the Chiefs, no matter how good you are.
True.
And then go to the Ravens. That's ridiculous. And then you go to the Steelers and then the Vikings, and then you get a break with the Jaguars, but then you have the Titans and the Packers. Then you have another break with the Jaguars, but eventually you're going to play the Patriots and the Colts again and the Titans again. And so they have, even though it's not the hardest schedule, it is among it because of how like the first 8 games are.
Yeah, for sure. And with all those teams and them having good defensive lines too, it makes it worse. Makes it worse. Well, Lightning Bauer over here does bring up a good point. Seems like David Johnson might be back to full force. 2016 David Johnson. He had a decent game. What do you think, Kaven?
I mean, yeah, sure. He had a great game. He could certainly be back to full force, and I'd say he probably is. But does that matter if their defense and their offensive line can't do enough? Like
Right.
if they're not, because I think David Johnson would have done so much better if the offensive line would have played better.
Yeah.
You know? Like Saquon Barkley, he would have played so much better if the steel wall wasn't the defensive line, or if the offensive line had just played a little bit better. But when your offensive line goes, your running game usually goes.
Yeah.
And so David Johnson certainly had a great game considering his offensive line, and even just in general, even if he had a great offensive line.
Yeah. It was weird, though, seeing the Texans really steering away from the run. It was like the only thing that worked for them early in the game, but then they never gave it to him. It's like Johnson had 11 rushes the whole game. That's less than Gurley, and we know he has knee problems.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
But, I mean, he's obviously being productive. I don't get that either, but he's obviously shown that he can run the ball, averaging 7 yards a carry.
Yeah.
That's nice. It's nice to know for David Johnson and the team. But
yeah. Yeah, he did. Lightning Bauer is right. He got me some good fantasy points last time. Here's my advice to the Baltimore Ravens. Play football.
No.
That's my advice, believe it or not. Here's my advice to the Texans.
Elaborate.
Forfeit and take a 1-week vacation. I'm sorry, man. The Ravens are so good. I think they're going to tear up. And last year, I was not happy with Houston's offensive line. I thought they were arguably the worst offensive line in the league last year. And then they went out and got Laramie Tunsil, and it got slightly better. It's like having a leaking aquarium with 12 holes, and you patch one of them. This year, they don't look much better.
Great analogy, AJ.
Thank you. Thank you very much. They don't look much better. I'm sorry, guys. Week 1 against Kansas City, and you're playing Baltimore, who's arguably just as good on the defensive line. I think Deshaun Watson's going to be running for his life again, which means he's not going to be able to throw very well. Granted, somehow Will Fuller ended up with over 100 yards. Did not see that coming, but it's basically he's trying to turn him into DeAndre Hopkins, but Cooks is not the same two as Fuller. And Randall Cobb, I mean, he's fine, but he was fine with Aaron Rodgers throwing to him with a good offensive line. Not Deshaun, I'm running for my life because I'm stuck in Houston, throwing him the ball twice a game. Houston, you have a problem. It is your offensive line. And Lamar Jackson beating the Browns by throwing instead of running just kind of solidified it in my mind as, well, okay, they're the team to beat along with Kansas City. I don't think the Texans have much of a chance. They need like half the team to get injured to win.
Yeah. I think you explained it pretty well.
Yep, thanks. Now we'll finish off with Sunday Night Football. We got to see Superman 1 take on the Miami Dolphins, but now it's game time. Superman 2 versus Pete Carroll and the Legion of Boom. Kind of. More like Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. But anyway. This is Seahawks came out. Russell Wilson had one of the best games like we've seen in a while, throwing 4 incompletions, only 31 complete passes, 4 touchdowns, no picks. It's hard to be more efficient. And now they're going up against the Patriots defense. What do you think? If you're Seattle, do you let Russell air it out again? Do you go to the ground more with Hyde and Carson? What are you thinking?
I think that they didn't personally, even though Russell Wilson had an amazing game, I think they didn't give it enough to Carlos Hyde and Carson. I think they should have started with them more. Just, I mean, don't get me wrong, but I think that the Patriots are going to look for this. I think they're going to look to make sure that and their defense is always, their secondary is always great. It can carry the team if it needs to. And so they're going to be watching out for the balls that are going way up in the air that Russell throws to Tyler and Metcalf, and so I think the Patriots are going to really make an effort to stop Russell Wilson from throwing 4 touchdowns again.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think that he will, to a certain extent, maybe not as much as last week. I think he will have still a good game. And I think the word you used, efficient, is the perfect way to describe what happened last week. I think that's the perfect word, because he was, I don't think conservative with the ball is the right word, because even though it was better than that.
Yeah.
When you're conservative, that usually means you're just kind of sitting there and not trying to make huge moves yet. It seemed like Russell Wilson the whole game was making the huge moves with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and even though Chris Carson didn't have a good rushing game, he still had a good receiving game, almost 50 yards.
Yeah.
So, I honestly think they have this one. But I could be totally wrong. And I think if the offense does amazing, then they have the win. No question.
Yeah, this is going to be I think it's going to be a tighter game maybe than some people expect. New England, despite all the people opting out, they still have talent on that back line. Look, Seattle, you torched Atlanta. Let's give them that. But granted, you're playing AJ Terrell, DeMonte Casey. I mean, he's supposed to be older. You're playing a younger / injury history Falcons black line. Now you're going up against Stephon Gilmore and the McCourty twins, and also Adrian Phillips, I think, is their starter at safety right now. It's going to be a tough game. I think New England's not going to go down easy. Cam Newton is going to have to establish himself as both a runner and a passer early, I think. New England's rushing game after him is iffy at best. Michelle is on and off. Burkhead is better on the goal line. White is more for checkdowns, but they're not really throwing it to him that much, and there's no more Damian Harris. You're going to need to get Cam as a dual threat early, I think, if New England's going to want to take this game. Do the same thing you did to Miami, but also don't put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands if you don't need to. If you can kind of control the game clock, I think that'll make it a lot easier on New England instead of giving, Seattle multiple times to score the ball. They're going to be having a tough go of it. They're getting put through the ringer in week 2. Seattle's defense, they still let up 25 points to Atlanta. They're not the greatest that we've ever seen. This isn't the Legion of Boom, let's keep in mind, but they're still good. And so New England with N'Keal Harry and Julian Edelman, granted good, but they're playing him as their wide receiver 3 right now, I think are going to have a little bit of a rough time. I think this goes to Seattle, but New England really to win is going to have to get Cam going early.
Yeah, and I think I would totally agree, but I don't think it's all on Cam going early. I think it's really the receivers beside like Wes excuse me.
Taking it back there with Welker.
I was coughing. Wes Welker and Stanley Morgan, and even
Welker's been retired for like 4 years.
That's why I was taking it. Wait.
Okay, gotcha. Are you saying like past Patriots, or are you using a past Patriots?
I'm like using an analogy,
Okay, gotcha.
So if when you had Julian Edelman and those 3 guys, sorry, I didn't make that clear. Okay, it was because let's say you had Cam with them.
Yeah.
It would be totally different. Like it wouldn't have been all on him because you had other guys that were getting open and like other guys that he could throw to. But now you don't really after Julian Edelman. You do, but you don't. And so I think it's on the wide receivers. I think Julian Edelman should be played more, honestly.
Same.
They're playing lockdown the defense playing as hard as they can against Julian Edelman because they know with 2 inches of space, he can run a mile.
Yeah, very true. And I think especially Harry's going to have to step up as that number 1, number 2 in the offense because, look, he's a big dude. Let's not get that wrong, but he's going to have to go up against Seattle. Keep in mind, Cam only threw the ball 19 times. He only completed the ball 15 times against Miami. He didn't really need to do much. Yeah, you're right. The wide receivers are also going to have to step up this week, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to go to Seattle.
I think so.
Well, those are I don't know what we want to call those, our Power 5.
Our power
for the NFL. Yeah, there you go. Our 5 games we really want to highlight. Let us know what you guys think about the NFL and what's going to happen this week. Lightning Bauer, thank you for joining us for this episode and our last one live. Be sure to check out our past episodes. Hopefully, we'll be coming out a little bit more consistently. We've been kind of off and on recently. Let us know what you want us to do for some Allied Shorts. Cademan, you got anything you want to finish us off with?
I think I'm all good here.
All right, cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm AJ Herschel, and y'all already know that that's Cademan Bauer. We'll see you guys next time on the one and only Allied Rivals podcast. Have a good night.